Good evening, Malaysia. Are you ready? Well, you better be, because tomorrow you and I will decide how life in this beautiful country will be for the next 5 years and the years to follow. If you're still undecided, you still have time to make up your mind. But remember, when the sun rises tomorrow, head to your polling center and let your hopes and dreams for this nation be counted. Now that I've lifted your spirit, here's a story that will leave you enraged. He calls himself Abba, but not my Abba, based on some of the things he's been saying. Muhyiddin Yassin has now resorted to using religion to scare Malay voters in PN's G15 campaign against Pakatan Harapan. According to the Bersatu president, Harapan is an agent of Christians and Jews in the country.
PN candidate for Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin has claimed that Pakatan Harapan was an agent of Jews and Christians who are out to colonize Malaysia. Muhyiddin said this during the Ceramah Mega PN Best event in Parit Jawa, Johor on November 16. He was the final speaker of the night after past President Abdul Hadi Awang.
Bagi saya ini bahaya. Apakah bermakna akan berlaku proses kristianisasi? Dan kita dah dengar cerita ini bukan? Di Kuala Lumpur, di Petaling Jaya, kalau ada gereja hari Ahad, ada juga orang-orang Melayu pergi ke sana. Rupanya dah masuk Kristian.
According to Muhyiddin, a group of Jews and Christians were plotting for Malaysia to be ruled by their proxy, Pakatan Harapan.
Itu saya tak fikir berkembang dengan pesat. Pasal sebahagian besar kita ni adalah orang Islam. Tetapi agenda puak dan kaul-kaul sebegitu ini ialah tidak lain tidak bukan satu hari niat mereka ialah untuk mengambil alih Malaysia ni menjadi satu daripada koloni dia. Itu satu daripada strategi jangka panjang. Mungkin tidak dilihat waktu kita ini, tapi mungkin tidak berapa lama kalau kita tak berhati-hati dan berjaga-jaga.
A video clip of Muhyiddin making the allegation has been posted by TikTok user FunViz yesterday and viewed at least 600,000 times. A complete video of the event was uploaded on Johor Perikatan Nasional's Facebook page.
If Muhyiddin and Perikatan Nasional had more to offer voters, would they need to resort to scaring voters by blaming the usual suspects, communists, Christians and Jews? Here's Anwar's and Rafizi's take on the issue.
Anwar Ibrahim has slammed PN chairperson Muhyiddin Yassin for claiming Pakatan Harapan is a Jewish agent. The Pakatan Harapan chief reiterated he fights for the interests of all Malaysians, irrespective of their racial or religious background.
Sekarang ni Malaysia dijemput bahaya bawah Pakatan Harapan kerana Kristian dan Yahudi dah menyusup di dalam. Ni tak ada modal lain, komunis, Kristian, Yahudi. Jadi kamu opak tak ada kesalahan.
In a ceramah on November 16, Muhyiddin alleged that Harapan was an agent of Jews and Christians who were out to colonize Malaysia. Meanwhile, PKR Deputy President Rafizi Ramli said a police report will be lodged against Muhyiddin over the claim. In a press conference today, Rafizi said he does not tolerate such statements from politicians.
It tears apart the very fabric of our society, and we are living in the 21st century. Unfortunately, instead of focusing more on governance, on policies, there is a tendency to swing to the extreme right in the last few years. And it is a dangerous phenomenon that we have to tackle seriously.
DAP chairperson Lim Guan Eng also responded to Muhyiddin's statement, saying hate speech is never the solution to addressing the people's problems, which include low wages, high cost of living, and lack of equal opportunity. Lim added that Muhyiddin had embraced PAS's racist and extremist narrative by attempting to strike fear amongst Muslim voters of an alleged Jewish and Christian conspiracy.
If you like what we do and would like to support the channel, please click on the link in the description. This would help us remain independent and keep those in power in check. Now to our next story. Zahid Hamidi was one of the biggest cheerleaders for G15 to be held during the monsoon season. But did he miscalculate? He said he would be willing to wade through floodwaters to campaign for the polls. But would it be enough to keep him from drowning in GE15.
Ahmad Zahid Hamidi's stronghold or Bagan Datuk in Perak is at risk, reports Malaysia Kini. It is said it would be ironic if the UMNO president is defeated, since he was instrumental in pressuring caretaker Prime Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob to hold the election during the monsoon season. At a ceramah in Selangor last week, he apologized to the audience for not leaving his home state earlier, explaining that he needed to secure Bagan Datuk first. In the 2018 general election, Zahid campaigned in Bagan Datuk as a deputy prime minister who was not implicated in scandals, although BN was struggling under the weight of the 1MDB saga. This time around, he is contesting a number of corruption charges against him. People are also under the impression that he pushed for the elections in order to avoid landing behind bars. In the previous polls, Zahid had promised some 2.2 billion ringgit worth of development for Bagan Datuk. For this election, almost all the voters whom Malaysia Kini met are aware of his corruption charges. And since his predecessor Najib Abdul Razak was sent to prison, they are worried that a similar fate would befall their MP. This might influence them to choose another candidate. Furthermore, voters are also aware that even UMNO leaders like Khari Jamaluddin regard Zahid as someone who needs to be cleansed from UMNO. As for the young and non-Malay voters, the choice is clear: Harapan and its chairperson Anwar Ibrahim. Anwar's presence in Bagan Datuk had received a warm welcome, and this served as an ill omen for Zahid.
I love it when Malaysians come together to help each other. Today, that was the scene at the KL Selangor Chinese Assembly Hall as volunteers came together to make sure no postal vote is left behind.
The Kuala Lumpur Selangor Chinese Assembly Hall has found enough volunteers to help sort out postal votes. Its Chief Executive Officer Ong Oi Heng, in a brief statement, said KLSCAH will not open its space to the public during the sorting process. Earlier, Vote Malaysia sought more volunteers to help sort some 30,000 postal ballots carried on passenger flights to Malaysia. The ballots will be distributed to runners who will send them to their respective returning officers. This international network was set up after Malaysians were forced to scramble to airports to pass their ballot papers to willing Malaysia-bound strangers when postal ballot papers arrived too late in GE14. At the time, ad hoc sorting systems were set up at KLIA where ballots were passed to volunteer runners or waiting friends and family, who rushed them to polling centres. Despite the Election Commission's apology over the issues faced by postal voters in 2018, the same problems have cropped up, with many still in a nail-biting wait for the ballots.
Ismail Sabri Yaakob is MCA's choice for Prime Minister if BN wins GE15. Wee Ka Siong said this in denying claims that a vote for BN would be a vote for Zahid Hamidi.
MCA has reiterated its support for Ismail Sabri Yaakob as a 10th Prime Minister candidate if BN wins GE15. MCA President Wee Ka Siong also advised voters not to be influenced by certain parties, claiming that his party does not support Ismail Sabri to become PM. He said the backing was to enable the UMNO Vice President to continue his duties as head of the government, to ensure the continuity of the previously planned agenda. We said Ismail Sabri will not only be the 9th PM, but he will also be made the 10th PM later. We spoke to reporters after a meet and greet session with the Yongpeng Vegetable Growers Association today. Meanwhile, we also called on candidates from opposition parties not to meddle in the internal matters of others. He said BN does not meddle in the affairs of the opposition, although they have claimed victory through polls and surveys. We said this when responding to claims by Pakatan Harapan that one vote to BN would mean one vote for UMNO President Ahmad Zahid Hamidi to become PM.
Rafizi Ramli has given his take on why PAS is working with Bersatu to face G15 despite knowing PN won't win.
PKR Deputy President Rafizi Ramli claims that PAS has no intention of forming a new government with Bersatu. Rafizi said this is because PAS knows that PN will not win in GE15. Speaking to a 700-strong audience at Desa Pinggiran Putra in Kajang yesterday, he said PN chairperson Muhyiddin Yassin was scammed. Rafizi drew this conclusion on grounds that PAS uses its own logo in Kelantan, Terengganu and Kedah for GE15. He also said any alliance that is built on betrayal will eventually be betrayed. Rafizi explained that PAS is scamming Bersatu because the party is wealthy. He said PN's wealth can be seen in the amount of campaign material and how PN recruited influencers in its election campaign. Rafizi claimed PN could pay influencers who charged between 20,000 ringgit and 50,000 ringgit. On November 14, PN was rocked by apparent conflicting remarks issued by past Secretary-General Taqiyuddin Hassan and Muhyiddin. Taqiyuddin said past position was that PN will form a coalition government with BN, if necessary. However, that was dismissed by Muhyiddin and he insisted that PN would form a government on its own.
Outgoing past Minister Tuan Ibrahim has sued Rafizi Ramli for claiming the government approved a project worth billions of ringgit after Parliament was dissolved.
Outgoing Environment and Water Minister Tuan Ibrahim Tuan Man has filed a defamation suit against PKR Deputy President Rafizi Ramli. This is over Rafizi's claims that he had allegedly approved a 2 billion ringgit flood mitigation project after Parliament was dissolved. The suit comes after Rafizi failed to respond to a letter of demand dated November 10 sent by Tuan Ibrahim. In a statement today, Tuan Ibrahim said that Rafizi did not give any written response to his lawyers but continued to slander him with statements that were not based on truth. He said to stop Rafizi from continuing with the slander and destroying his reputation on the eve of the 15th general election, he had to take legal action to seek justice and truth. Last week, Rafizi had accused the caretaker government through the Environment and Water Ministry of trying to bulldoze the awarding contracts worth billions of ringgit for cronies. Following the accusation, Tuan Ibrahim sent a letter of demand asking Rafizi to issue a letter of undertaking within 7 days, promising to cease making similar allegations. He had also demanded that Rafizi apologize for the claims and propose a suitable amount within 7 days as compensation.
And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and Facebook for the latest news updates. If you'd like to support independent media, do consider subscribing to MalaysiaKini.com. I'm Prasad. Thank you for watching and don't forget, vote.